Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar entitled Screencasting in the Flipped Classroom. I'm your host, Michael George, representing the Graduate Admissions Office, and joining me momentarily will be Dr. Ron Kotlik, Program Director of the Education Technologies and Emerging Media Programs at Canisius. Thanks for attending today's webinar to learn more about screencasting in the flipped classroom. Today's program will last about 60 minutes, including time for questions. Dr. Kotlik will moderate and demonstrate web-based and computer-based tools to easily produce both student and teacher-created videos that can be used to bring the content delivery of any course outside of the classroom. Among the tools that Dr. Kotlik will demonstrate include Screencast-O-Matic, Screener, Snagit, and Camtasia. If you have questions, feel free to use either the question or chat features available to you, and we will do our best to answer your questions during today's program. So, without further delay, I present to you Dr. Ron Kotlik.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I know this is a very busy time for most teachers as we get into the almost the early part of spring here. What I have here for you is a Google Doc, which I'm going to use as the basis of my presentation. What's really nice about using a Google Doc for a presentation is that you can have this. If you either scan this particular QR code, or if you copy down this URL address, tinyurl.com/Canisius-screencasting, you can have this particular Google Doc. And what I'm going to do with this is actually, right now, I'm actually screencasting this presentation. Right now, I'm actually recording my screen, and later on, I'll do some things with it to make it look a little nicer, and I'm going to embed this video.
The broadcast is now starting.
Today.
All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Put that into this Google Doc. So everyone will actually see this Google Doc. You can look at it, you can have it, copy it, and there'll be a video right here for you. Okay, so let's kind of move forward. A little bit myself, I guess I'm the Director of the Educational Technologies Program at Canisius College, and I'm going to come back to that, what our program's all about, and also the other online and other graduate programs that we have here at Canisius. But I'm also a high school history teacher. I teach AP World, AP US History, the Civil War, and I'm an avid advocate of using technology in the classroom, and I'm also an avid flipper. I have flipped all my classrooms. So we're going to talk about screencasting today and talk a little bit about the flipped classroom and move on from there. So the first question I guess to ask is, what is a screencast? And basically what a screencast is having the ability to use software to record your screen. Now it's a little bit different than a screen capture. I think we've all done that where you've taken a picture of something that's on your screen to send out to a colleague or send to a student or for a project. A screencast is going beyond that, beyond just using a visual frame of your computer screen, but actually looking at your computer screen and recording it as a video, recording the audio, and then producing that video to share with others. So it's really easy, and I say that and I mean it. It might not sound easy, but it really is easy to create fairly high quality videos for your students that they can use as a reference from what you're talking about in class, or you can use it as a flipped classroom model where it becomes the basis for how you deliver the content basis or sections of your courses. And then the next step, which we'll talk a little about today, is having students create their own videos for classroom projects. So that's really how this actually works. So let's kind of move into it. Now, real quickly, we can get lost in hardware issues. One of the most important things to have when making a good screencast is having a microphone. If you're using a Mac, if you're using a PC, yes, there's always internal microphones that are on those particular machines, but they're usually not that great, and you're going to get a lot of fuzzy feedback with those particular microphones. So buy yourself a microphone. Right now, I'm actually using a $20 USB microphone made by Logitech, and I made this little link here for you. If you click on this particular link, it brings you to a site of reviews of some of the premier microphones. Now, again, like anything, you can get really carried away. You can spend $20 or you can spend $200. And yes, the quality does differ. But for most cases, I don't really think you have to spend a lot of money to get a fairly decent product. So check out some microphones. If you don't have one already, definitely buy some. You can have a standalone microphone that I'm using today or a headset that has a microphone attached to it. So that's sort of the first step. All right, so let's talk about software. And there's a lot of software out there that does screen capturing, but I am a really, really big fan of some of the products that a company called TechSmith puts together. Now, I'll do my little disclaimer here. I am in no way associated with TechSmith. I'm not hired by them. I don't get royalties for them. But I've used their products a lot, and I've actually developed a pretty good relationship with some of the individuals who work at TechSmith, because TechSmith is really dedicated to helping teachers, and they're trying to develop software that will give teachers the tools to do these great creative things in their classroom. Now, one of the very first programs you can use, and it's actually a free program, is called Jing. It's very common, very, very, very popular. You click on that, and this will bring you to the TechSmith website. This is a free download where it'll give you a fairly basic program, and that basically allows you to do a screen capture. You can capture an image like on your screen, something like that. Or you can actually record the visual and the audio of what you're doing on your screen as you're moving through websites, or you're giving a PowerPoint or a presentation, a keynote presentation. You can record those presentations and turn them into videos. It's a free download, but it's limited in what it could do. The video quality is limited, and also the time, usually about 5 minutes, is what you can actually capture with Jing. Now, that might be all you need, and that might be fine. That's sort of the first step to using software to create screencasts. Now, the next step up is Snagit. And what Snagit is, it's a little more complex. It gives you more tools. Right now, I have Snagit in the background running. And if you click over here on this little icon, it's always there for you. It's so convenient. So right now, if I wanted to do a capture of this, basically the images on my screen, I can just hit this little camera button, and right now I am making a capture of this part of my screen. And there it is. The editor comes up, and you can, add annotations to this image, but it's only an image, which is fine. Those are great for screen capturing. There's a lot of free screen capturing software out there, but this gives you a lot of ability to do a lot of drawings and markups over your images, and it gives you a lot of the abilities to actually share your images and save them in different file formats. That's a basic thing. Now, what about making a video? All you do is click on the video portion right here, and you click on the video capture button, and basically right now I am making a screencast of this particular portion of my computer screen. Give it a second to load up. There's a little icon in the background that you can change your microphones, and you can change the levels, and you can change some of the settings, and you can press record. So it's actually kind of funny right now. I'm actually doing a screencast, and now I'm doing a screencast of a screencast. So this is getting a little bit out of hand here. But just press record, and the little button comes up, 3, 2, 1, like we're in a recording studio, and bam, here we are. I'm literally recording this portion of my screen, so as I move through it, I'm recording this. Now, again, think of the possibilities. You can make a great PowerPoint. You can make a great Prezi. You can make a great keynote presentation, and you can have it all nice and polished, and then you can actually record that part of the screen and produce it as a video, which is really nice. And once I'm done, I'll just sort of pause my video here, and I think I'm ready to go. I don't know if there's any other problems with it, and I'll just press Shift F10, and I've stopped the video, and now it comes up in this sort of editor function. Now, here's what I want to be really clear about: what Snagit does and what other software does. This video produced right here, let me go back to that, from Snagit is as it is. You cannot manipulate it. You can't add anything to it. You can't cut it. You can't really play around with it, which is fine for beginning screencasters. What's really nice about Snagit is it's really easy then to upload your video if you wanted then to publicize it, to publish it. Screencast.com is sort of the native TechSmith video sharing site. It's very useful. It's very easy to use. Or you can do YouTube. It automatically uploads to YouTube once you put in your credentials, and then your file is pushed to a YouTube. How easy is that? And when it's done uploading to YouTube, it actually sends the copy of the URL of the YouTube video right to your clipboard so you can paste it anywhere you want. Super easy to create quick videos using Snagit. Okay? Now, I'm going to take questions later. I'm sure if you have questions right now, we'll go back to them. But now, what's the next level here? If you really wanted to become like this all-star screencaster, I guess, Camtasia is the next level of a really great software program. And what Camtasia does, I can't show you how the interface is because I'm using it right now, but it's very similar to Snagit, where you basically set the area that you want to record. But what's nice about Camtasia is that once you're done recording, you have so many post-production possibilities. Right now, I'm going to open up Camtasia. And let me just get this open up here. It's slowing down on me. Once you make a video, and I'm going to come back to this video, now you have a timeline of your video feed. You can mess around with the audio of it. You can splice content together. You can add markers and visuals over this. You can do panning, zooming, and there's so many possibilities. I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to come back to this example in a little bit. And then once you're done, making your video really nice and polished, then you can, again, easily share it to YouTube or to Screencast or to your Google Drive, which is a new feature that they have, which is super, super useful. So again, Camtasia is like the next step up. I'm going to come back to this so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so those are those particular products. Okay, now what's nice about these products, they give you a great 30-day free trial. Just want to play around with them. When I do project with my students, whether it's at the college, graduate level, or with my high school students, I usually tell them, get the trial, use it for 30 days for our classroom project, and that's usually all they need for a particular classroom project. But for a teacher, you want to do this over and over again, I really think it is worth the investment. TechSmith is offering, I put this little link here for you. They're giving a great deal, and this isn't a sales pitch, but you can buy both Snagit and Camtasia for less than $100. Or you can buy Snagit alone for $30. That's a really good deal. That's a really good saving. So if you're interested in all of this, get the free trial first. And if you really want to use this program extensively, it definitely is worth the investment. Okay? So I'm going to come back to how those work in a little bit when I show you some of the examples of screencasts that I've made. Now, the next sort of way to sort of break this down is web tools, okay? And there's also web services, so you don't need to install any software on your computer, that also do very similar things. One of the most popular ones is a site called Screencast-O-Matic. Now, Screencast-O-Matic really runs on a PC or a Mac computer, and you open it up, and here is the tab for it. I got a lot of things running here. So it's basically a web-based program where you go to the website, Screencast-O-Matic, and all you really do is say, start recording. And once you press that button, a similar interface. They're all very similar. You're going to have the options of what part of your screen do you want to record. But what's nice about this is that you do not need to install any software. Okay, let's give it a second here. I'm going to have a lot going on my machine, so it's taking a little bit longer than it usually does. So we'll give it a minute here. It's loading up. And this is free. There's also a professional version, which I'll show you some of the differences. So see, here now you have this particular box, and you can play around with this box, and you could drag it to where you want to. And at the bottom, it shows you your microphone levels. It gives you the options to turn that on and off and look at different microphones you have. It has the recording option. If you have a webcam, it will actually let you see yourself in your recordings. That's always really kind of nice for students to see you as you're making a recording. And you just press record. And now you're talking and you're recording. Same interface. 3, 2, 1, go. Same idea. I am recording this part of the screen as I talk about a website, as I talk about a PowerPoint presentation, or the case may be. And when everything is done, I press done. And then it does a little preview for you. And again, you can publish it to their site, just like TechSmith did. Publish it to YouTube, or you can save it as an MP4 file, which is really nice. So again, this is for free, and they actually give you 15 minutes, which is a long time. So there's a lot that you can do with 15 minutes, and it is free. So a really nice option if you're just getting into this. You don't want to invest that $100, which is very understandable. You want to play around with it, but also nice for your students. You don't want to have your students to buy expensive software. Now they can actually have this. Now let me go back for a second. I'm just going to close this out for a second. The Pro version. What's the deal here? There's a watermark. It's going to say Screencast-O-Matic on your video. You have longer than 15 minutes, higher quality, more options to publish to Google Drive. You have some editing tools and recording tools and so forth like that, which does sort of help you in all this. Just kind of wanted to go back to my screen here and show you something, but that's okay. We'll just keep it right here. But anyway, so that's really kind of a nice option. So there you have it. It is free, and it's a great tool to get accustomed to using screencasting. Now, I'm not going to show you Screener per se. I'll just open up for you. Screener is kind of the same idea as Screencast-O-Matic. Similar features. But unfortunately for Screener, only a 5-minute limit on the free version, and then there's a pro version. So again, you can see which one works better for you. Look at how much money you have to spend on these things, but they work in a similar fashion. Okay, but it works on a Mac or a PC. So there's our first two sections. We have our software that you install. Then we have our web tools that are free to a limited extent. Now, there's a big push in education for using Chromebooks in the classroom. I don't know if you've ever seen a Chromebook or know what a Chromebook is. It's sort of this low-cost laptop between $250 to $300 that pretty much runs on Google's Chrome operating system. Very inexpensive, perfect for a classroom setting. I was fortunate enough to win a grant last year where I bought 8 for my classroom. It's literally changed what I do, having 8 devices in my room every single day. One of the drawbacks, which has been a drawback, is how do you make a screencast on a Chromebook? Because the problem with a Chromebook is it doesn't run Java. And I don't want to get all the heavy techie stuff, but a lot of these screencasting software, whether it be the software you install or the web ones I just showed you, use Java to manipulate the screen and to record it and so forth. Chromebooks don't run that. So how do you do it? Now, the best case was that Chromebook, a company came out with this app called Screencastify. It's supposed to be the solution to the Chromebook webcasting and screencasting. And I'll go to the Chrome web store so you can see what the app looks like. And I've installed it and I've tested it out, and it's hit or miss. Once you install it, if you see where my cursor is, this little film strip kind of appears in your Chrome browser. And it will also work on Mac or laptops that are running Chrome, the Chrome browser. And basically the idea is that you click on this little film strip, and once you click on the film strip, it gives you this sort of chance to record. And you go just say start recording, and it only records the full tab that you're viewing. So it records the whole entire thing, and right now you see the numbers are there. It actually is recording. If I just click off of this, it will lose that. So right now it's actually recording what I'm doing, only in this particular tab that I have open. And when you're done, you press stop, and you just stop the recording, and then you can open it up, and I guess this is what it actually looks like. We'll play the file, and there it is. So that's what the video that I just made looks like, right? Kind of nice, and you can share it out. It works pretty well on a Windows laptop or a Windows machine. I've had a hard time using this on my Chromebooks, and I've been so disappointed because I've been looking for a way for my students to make videos using Chromebooks. There is a tricky workaround, which it is successful. I don't know how many of you have used Google Hangouts. Google Hangouts is kind of like the Google version of Skyping, where you can talk to people online. It's great for educators. It's great for professional learning communities to do professional development. You can basically schedule a Google Hangout live on air. So if you go to your Google Plus account, if I had a Chromebook right now, I'd have a Chromebook open. I would go to my Google Plus account, and I'll go into that. And I would go down to under Home here, and I'll go to Hangouts. And once I click on Hangouts, there's this option to start a Hangout on air, which basically is you are doing a live on-air broadcast. And you will show the people who are talking, but you can also share your screen. And that's how you do the screencasting. So basically you say start Hangout on air, and you give it a name, and you can make it public. And what happens is once you press go, and I won't do it because it's taking too much power from my computer, but basically you're recording your face, your audio, your visual, and then you can share your screen, and that's uploaded directly live to your YouTube account. And then once you're done with it, you stop it, and then it's on your YouTube account, and you can then share that with your students, or your students can share that with you. That does work on a Chromebook, but it's kind of a clunky way to make a screencast. Now, literally this morning, I told you I work with the guys and the gals over at TechSmith, and they're doing a beta test group on a really cool software that will work on Chromebooks for screencasting. I can't wait to get a part of this because this is perfect. If my students can start making screencasts on a Chromebook, again, I think we're starting to see Chromebooks become a really competitive piece. I think they're really competitive now with iPads. I have an iPad. I love my iPad, but they're really cost effective, these Chromebooks. And if they could do more video and actually make screencasts, I think it's only going to just make them much more competitive. So keep your eyes open. Once I know more about this, I actually will add it to this particular Google Doc, and I'll share what I know and how those testings are actually going. Okay, so there's the software. Okay, we went to the the harder ones like Camtasia, the web tools, some of the ways to do a Chromebook or Chrome OS. Now, so what? What do you do with this? Okay, now this particular presentation won't really focus a lot about what you do in a flipped classroom, but what is the flipped classroom? The idea behind the flipped classroom model is basically you're going to take the content piece out of the classroom experience. And you're going to take that, whether it be lecture overviews of labs, how to do mathematical problems, whatever the case may be, and you're going to turn that into video content that the students actually watch for homework. And now you have all this extra time in class, and now you can do some of the fun, creative, higher level thinking things that you always want to do. But as we've all had the experience as educators, we always feel pressured. High stakes testing, Common Core, AP, Regents, whatever the case may be. We always got to get all those testing things out of the way, that some of the time we lose the time or feel that we don't have the time to do some of the fun things. That's the flipped classroom model. I have flipped all my class for the past 5 years, and I love it. And I will never turn back. And my students absolutely love it. Where they're watching videos that I produce at home as homework, and I don't want to get into all the details of how you do that, but you certainly check, and I have quizzes on the videos and things like that, so they're accountable for the videos. And then in class, we're doing much more creative things or debates. They're making movies. They're making video documentaries. We're doing a lot of intensive writing workshops, which is perfect for what we need to do in the AP program. And that's how the flipped classroom works. Now, I want to show you some examples of things that I've done with my flipping and how this has evolved for me. So this next section, the evolution to the flipped classroom, how did this start off for me? Well, it started off for me just about 6 years ago, and I wanted to do podcasting. Podcasting is still important, but podcasting was really big. And I wanted to make a radio show where I can record some audio, like a radio show, that my students can use only as review for a test. Okay, so it started out that I was still delivering most of my content through lecture and discussion in class, but before a test, I would put together these brief radio shows, which would sort of highlight the most important points as a review for a test. So here is an example of a podcast that I put together about World War I. And let's see if this is still, let me just refresh this really quickly. So let's come up again. And I added some music, then I did my voice, and then I did some content. So let me play this for you. Hope it plays. Here. Pause that there. So if you heard that, I hope you can hear that. The idea was I was going over a study guide. They had a written study guide in front of them that they were working on in class, and I was going back over the major points from that particular study guide. So the audio became something they can use. They could put it on their iPods. A lot of them didn't even have iPhones when I started doing this. iPods were the major thing. So they were doing that, and they were listening to it in class, and they were listening to it in the hall, or on the bus, or in the car, or onto the game someplace. And they liked it. They loved it. So I started making all those. Okay. So then I started getting to more of the screencast. Okay, well that's a cool idea, but I want them to actually see the screencast. I want them to actually see the study guide that I'm talking about. So let's do some simple screencasting. So what I did was basically use Snagit back then. And here's a YouTube video that I made where I basically did a screen capture of the study guide. This was their APUS study guide. It was saved as a PDF. I annotated the PDF. I highlighted the PDF. And then I did a screen capture of it. So let me kind of play this.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first Screencast.
It's kind of low. Hoping you can hear the volume.
Study guide, the politics and culture of abundance.
So there's me talking, and I'm actually just going through this study guide. Okay, so here I am. I'm going through it. I'll just kind of fast forward it. I'm talking about the particular questions. I put in pop-ups here, and then I would go over the pop-ups
of Eastern Europe.
Okay, and then I also did some highlighting of the text and things like that further through the study guide. I was kind of fast forward a little bit here, but you get the point. And this was okay. The kids liked it. They loved it. They thought this was great. So I went from, I'll just stop this. I went from making just a pure audio podcast. Then I went to just a simple screencast of a study guide. But I thought, boy, that's kind of boring. I'm actually having my students watch a piece of paper being highlighted as I'm talking over it. And that seemed kind of dull to me. So then I really got into more of the sophisticated aspects of screencasting. I started using Camtasia and making edits and making more interesting introductions. So I labeled this, I think I should have went to film school. Now let me give a disclaimer. I'm not saying that I'm a great film producer. All I mean by that was I love doing this so much that I started spending more time on producing films than I should have. I had so much fun splicing and editing and adding in video and annotations and highlights and things like that that I just was having so much fun doing this. So here's an example of a more sophisticated video. Now I'm going to play this for a little bit, and then I'm going to show you how I put together on Camtasia.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the next video on AP World History. During this particular series of videos, we are going to discuss classical civilization. Now, a key thing here is understanding what in the world does classical...
Let me pause that. So right now, I actually used my cell phone to make a video. I bought a simple, inexpensive tripod mount for a cell phone, and I recorded it right at my desk, right where I am right now. And I did a sort of brief 1-minute introduction of what the topic was going to be about so they could actually see me. I got some feedback when I started doing those simple screencasts that the students liked the simple screencast, but they said it would be kind of cool to actually see you. And I thought for a minute, why they want to see me? But it made a much more personal aspect to the screencast, like they were actually in class listening to these things, watching me, and that was important for the student. So let me play this.
We have classical cars, we have classical movies, we have classical TV shows. But
so right there, I'm talking about classical empires in AP World. And I start talking about what does it mean to be classic? What is a classical? What is classic? So about classic cars, Ferris Bueller, Seinfeld. I added those in Camtasia, and those popped up. So that kind of gave a much more polished effect to it.
What does that mean in terms of classical civilization or even classical empire? Well, 2 words are key here. Classical means innovative, right? Something fresh, something new, and also enduring.
So I want to focus on those 2 words, innovative and enduring. That was the key elements of a classical civilization. So I just did some simple things in Camtasia where I added these little, markups. Really easy to actually do. Okay, so that's kind of my little intro.
Of its own existence. So you think of that classical car, still very cool. Think of that classical movie, that classical TV show, right? That was fresh and new, but still even 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, still makes us laugh or cry or smile. So keep that in mind as we discuss these classical empires and classical civilizations, and thank you for watching.
Now, here's going to become a little music piece I put together. I actually use the app on my iPad called iMovie. Maybe some of you have used it. Really easy to use app that makes pretty cool high quality videos. So I made this as my standard stock intro for all my videos. This is all done on iMovie. The music was from iMovie. You put your photos in, and then you sort of mix them up, and you're fading, you're panning, all in the iPad app. This really took probably me about 15 minutes to make this, once I knew which images I wanted to actually choose. It looks like it's a lot more to it, but it's really super easy. I added those titles. I changed the words. So that's the end of the intro, and then I do a little fade.
Here we go with the
and now what this is basically is a PowerPoint. This is a PowerPoint now that I brought up, and now I'm gonna did a screencast of a PowerPoint. I talk about classical empires. I'm going to go through all of this, but basically I went through all the bullets in the PowerPoint. I did highlights. I did little markups when things were more important. Things popped out, key idea, and then at the end of this, students actually took a quiz based upon the video. That's all embedded. So pretty cool that you could actually do all this, and it really wasn't that hard to actually put together. So I want to show you Camtasia. This is the Camtasia project that video was based upon. Right here, this was actually my little intro piece. Okay, so you just use this to scroll through it. Then, right, this popped up. Those are all the images of the Corvette and Seinfeld. And then there was that innovative enduring. Okay, that was literally, if I click on it, I just typed in here the words I wanted to put in, which style I wanted to do for my call out. You have all these different styles, things you can do, And then I added little transitions. These are little transitions. If you go to transitions, there's like tons of transitions that you can do between clips. You can split clips, merge clips. I also played around with the audio a little bit. You can do things like, audio leveling and sound and make your sound just better. Even if you have an inexpensive microphone, you can make your sound much, much better. Then over here was the video that I made with my iPad. So I brought that in. So now we're to that part of the video. Okay, so let me go over here. Okay, there's that part of the video. Here we are with the whole thing. There's that little intro that you actually saw. And now here's the PowerPoint. So this is actually 3 separate videos that I brought in, spliced together, added transitions, added the callouts, added the images, and then through the PowerPoint I'm adding callouts, like things to make big ideas, and that key ideas that students know that they should pay extra attention to. And really, once you get, this seems at first, I know, kind of daunting, like, oh, well, I can't do all this. I'm going to spend all my day making videos. Once you get used to doing it, and once you have like all your things kind of set and sort of where you know where they are, it really isn't that bad. You can really make a video pretty quickly. And what's nice about Camtasia is you can always go back and change it and add to it and edit it and add to it and make it different and make it fresh. If you make a video in either of these other pieces like Snagit or Screencast-O-Matic or Screener, pretty much what you have is what you have. You can't really do much with it. That's how I made those first study guide screencasts. They were kind of flat, nothing much to them. Okay, so that's teacher making screencasts. Now the next level and the ultimate level is certainly to have your students make screencasts. Okay, so I think that is super important that your students also learn how to do these things. And it's fun to teach them how to do this. Whether it be a math classroom, a social studies classroom, a science classroom, they love doing this. So I'm a big advocate of digital storytelling. The idea of having students produce like mini documentaries based upon a story, learning how to write a story, which is great writing skills, right? Great literacy skills. And then turning that writing project into a video. And I was so impressed with my students the past few years doing this. This past semester I taught a Civil War course, and my students made awesome documentaries. And here's an example of the project that I had for them to actually do. This is a Google Doc. I do all my projects in Google Docs. Let's give it a second here to load up. Okay, and I put actually a video on the Google Doc. What I did was in class, I went through the project. I actually screencasted live in class, me going over the project. And then I embedded that video on the Google Doc, kind of like I'm going to do for this webinar. So students can always go back and watch the video from class to know what the project was about. They had questions, they missed something, they forgot something usually, right? I can go back to it. So I talk about digital storytelling, what that means, what it means to make a good story, stuff like that. And we get into all that sort of thing, key elements. But then I showed them all the various tools available to make movies. And again, iMovie, Windows Movie Maker, Camtasia, there is Snagit, Jing, what I'm showing you. Some of the mobile apps that are great that later on in this series we're going to talk about with Rob Zdarsky about iPad video production. All right. And then the web tools. There's Screencast-O-Matic, Screener. So I taught my students how to do this. Gave them a deadline, gave them some rubrics, and then I made this graphic organizer of the different paths to make a video. You can do screencasting. Start out with a PowerPoint, Google, Prezi. Use those tools like Snagit or Camtasia or Screencast-O-Matic, then export your video to YouTube. They did that. Some of them did it on iMovie completely or Windows Movie Maker, but a lot of them did screencasting. And that was great. They learned so much from it. They had such a great time with it. And that's kind of like the next level of having your students make their own videos. And the goal is that those videos can become a classroom source for information, for reviewing for a test or for an exam. Maybe even next year's students can use this year's students' videos as a great source. So flipping your classroom doesn't have to just be what you want to do or how videos that you want to make. Flipping your classroom can also be basically students making their videos as well. Okay. Now, at the end of this Google Doc, I put together some really good resources here for you. Things to think about with screencasting. I'm not going to go through all of them because you can go through these links certainly. But 7 things you should know. This is a great article about screencasting, so definitely take a look at this. It gives you some great tips and ideas and how to think about student accountability and so forth, making a screencast. Then there's a Screencasting for Educators site, which is really good. It's a blog site. And they give a lot of great information here. They give you more tools to think about and overview of how to make it screencast. She even has some great rubrics if you want to use to evaluate student-made screencasts. I haven't used those, but that's a great idea. There's a screencasting handbook, the screencasting guide. All right, so those are all really good guides for screencasting. Now, I know this presentation isn't really focused on the flipped classroom. That's so much we can get into with that, not enough time. But if you want to start thinking about the flipped classroom, there's some great resources out there. One of the great places to go is the Flipped Learning Network. They're kind of like the standard, the hallmark of flipped classroom advocates, and they have a lot of resources here for you. There's even a conference called FlipCon this year in Pennsylvania, not that far from Pittsburgh, and they have a lot of great resources. The person who's pretty much the leader of that, the guy who started the Flipped Learning Network, is a guy named John Bergman. John Bergman is oftentimes considered like the guru of the flipped classroom that started, I think, like 12 years ago with him or more. And he has a great site, and it's actually kind of funny. We just wrote a blog post together. John and I work together now. We met at a seminar last year. So coincidence that he actually published this blog post the other day. This is actually about me and what I do in my classroom. I didn't plan on that being there, but John and I work together, and we have a lot of fun working together, and we're going to write more together next year or so. But he's a great advocate. He's like the leader of the flipped classroom. So please check him out. And then there's always other tips and how to flip your classroom and the articles about the flipped classroom. So definitely take a look at that. And here's the link to my high school website. If you want to see more of my videos and things like that, please feel free to do so. So that really kind of concludes the content section. Before we get to questions, again, I urge you, if you're interested in this at all, we have a wonderful online graduate program at Canisius in educational technologies where we focus on these sort of aspects. This is what you will learn in your classroom setting, and it's all online. And ironically, to be a good online teacher, we're all doing screencasting. We're all doing the flipped classroom model because we want to present our content to our students in a meaningful way. So if you're all interested in that program, click on this particular link. It will bring you to the program's webpage, and it can give you more about the content of the courses and the classes and so forth. And, I actually authored this particular quote, and I think it's an important one. Our goal is to inspiring teachers to use technology in inspiring ways. And I think that's the goal of the program. Everybody in the program is K through 12 teachers, so they're really excited about learning. Also, this video is great where I kind of go over what the program's about. So please take a look at this video on YouTube, and you'll learn more about the program. Also, we have wonderful graduate programs at Canisius, both online and face-to-face classrooms. I'm also an alumnus of Canisius. I did both undergraduate work at Canisius and graduate work at Canisius, so I can't even tell you how wonderful I think the place is. So please look at the programs. If you're all interested in graduate school, many different fields, education, and other areas, please go to this website and seek out more information. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to help answer those, and I think Mr. George will help facilitate that.